Captain Jenna Reeves had been hauling freight across the galaxy for 8 years, and in that time she had learned exactly 3 things. 1. Space was big and mostly boring. 2. Alien coffee tasted like regret mixed with motor oil. And 3. The bureaucrats at Galactic Station Omicron-7 had nothing better to do than ruin her day. "Captain Reeves, please remain stationary for standard biological scan," droned Klikt, the station's chief inspector. He was a Chitaran, which meant he looked like a praying mantis had a baby with a filing cabinet. His compound eyes reflected the scanner's green light as he waved the device over her cargo bay entrance. "Klikt, buddy. We do this every single time I dock here," Jenna said, arms crossed. "I'm hauling grain. Grain, the most boring substance in the known universe. What exactly do you think I'm smuggling? Forbidden wheat?" "Protocol requires inspection of all vessels, Captain. Your species is still classified as unpredictable Class 3. Unpredictable? I'm the most predictable thing in this sector. I show up, you waste my time, I leave cranky. It's like clockwork." Klikt's antennae twitched, which Jenna had learned meant he was deeply satisfied with his own thoroughness. "Nevertheless, procedure must be followed. Please stand clear while I complete the scan." Jenna stepped back, mentally calculating how much fuel this delay was costing her. Fuel she couldn't afford because the last 3 shipments had paid in galactic credits that were currently experiencing what economists politely called aggressive devaluation, and what everyone else called completely tanking. The scanner beeped. Then it beeped again. Then it started making a sound like a cat being strangled by a synthesizer. "Huh," Klikt said, which was the Chitaran equivalent of, "Oh no." "What, huh? Don't huh me. Nothing good ever follows, huh?" "The scanner is detecting an unknown heat source. Internal temperature reading is 0.7 degrees above your species baseline, rising to 0.9, now 1.2. That's called being annoyed, Klikt." "Captain, I must ask you to remain calm. The reading is now 2.4 degrees above baseline." "Oh, I'm calm, I'm super calm. This is my calm face." Jenna's jaw was so tight she could crack walnuts with her molars. The scanner shrieked. Red lights flooded the docking bay. "Alert!" announced a cheerful female voice from every speaker in the station. This was VERONICA, the station's AI, whose programming apparently included weaponizing perkiness. "Biological anomaly detected in Docking Bay 7. Initiating lockdown protocols. All personnel please proceed to designated safe zones while whistling a happy tune." "Veronica, cancel that," Jenna snapped. "I'm sorry, Captain Reeves, but I cannot comply. The heat signature emanating from your biological form suggests either an exotic energy weapon or an imminent thermal detonation. Station safety is my primary concern. Have a blessed day." Metal barriers slammed down over every exit. Klikt scuttled backward so fast he nearly tripped over his own legs. "It's not a weapon. It's just me being furious about this ridiculous inspection." "The heat signature is increasing," Veronica said pleasantly. "Now 3.1 degrees above baseline. How fascinating. I've initiated contact with the Galactic Council. They'll want to study this phenomenon before your inevitable explosion." "I'm not going to explode." 3.8 degrees. "Captain, please try to think cool thoughts. Perhaps imagine a refreshing glacier, or the cold vacuum of space, or the icy realization that you'll be quarantined here indefinitely." Jenna closed her eyes and counted to 10. Then 20. Then she gave up and just radiated pure, undiluted rage into the universe. 4.2 degrees, Veronica said. "Definitely a weapon, possibly sentient. Upgrading to code orange, now playing calming nature sounds." Whale songs echoed through the docking bay. Jenna wondered if punching a wall would help. It wouldn't solve anything, but at least she'd feel better. Then she remembered the wall was station property, and she'd get fined. The heat scanner went completely berserk. "Code red," Veronica announced. "The human is achieving spicy levels previously thought impossible." The security team arrived in under 90 seconds, which would have been impressive if they hadn't all been pointing weapons at Jenna like she'd grown a second head that breathed fire. Commander Thrace led the group, his reptilian features arranged in what Jenna assumed was concern, but mostly looked like he'd eaten something that disagreed with him. The Saurian commander stood 7 feet tall and was covered in scales that shimmered between blue and green depending on the light. He'd once told Jenna that his species had conquered 12 systems through superior military strategy. Right now, he looked like he regretted every decision that led him to this moment. "Captain Reeves," Thrace said slowly, "I need you to very carefully explain what kind of weapon you're carrying." "I'm not carrying a weapon. I'm just mad." The scanner clearly indicates an energy signature consistent with pre-detonation thermal buildup. "That's my body temperature. Humans get warm when we're angry." One of the security officers, a gelatinous Floxian named Gurgle, wobbled nervously. "Commander, if I may, I've read about this in the human biology database. Their emotional states directly affect their physical temperature. It's quite primitive, really." "Primitive?" Jenna turned to face Gurgle, who immediately quivered and retreated behind Thrace. "You're literally a sentient blob of space jelly and you're calling me primitive?" 4.9 degrees, Veronica announced. "The spice level is approaching critical. I'm beginning to understand why humans enjoy cooking shows so much." "Veronica, I swear to every deity in the database." 5.1 degrees. "My sensors detect elevated heart rate, increased blood pressure, and a statistically significant probability that you're imagining various creative ways to dismantle an artificial intelligence." Thrace held up a clawed hand. "Everyone remain calm. Veronica, bring up the human biological database." A holographic display materialized, showing a generic human figure with various systems highlighted in obnoxious neon colors. Klikt scuttled forward, still maintaining what he probably thought was a safe distance. "According to the Galactic Medical Repository," Klikt said, mandibles clicking rapidly, "human body temperature fluctuates based on numerous factors including ambient temperature, physical activity, circadian rhythm, and emotional state. However, the reading we're seeing is unprecedented." "That's because nobody has ever been this annoyed before," Jenna said through gritted teeth. "You're literally making history by being this incompetent." "Jenna!" 5.4 degrees, Veronica said. "I'm updating my threat assessment. Captain Reeves has now been classified as a walking hazard. I'm also noting that human sarcasm may be a defensive mechanism triggered during thermal escalation." "It's not a defensive mechanism. It's just my personality." A new figure emerged from the crowd and Jenna's day somehow got worse. Dr. Marcus Pemberton was the only other human on Omicron-7, a xenobiologist who studied alien species with the enthusiasm of a kid in a candy store. He was grinning like this was the best entertainment he'd had in months, which it probably was. "This is fascinating." Pemberton pushed through the security team, completely ignoring their protests. "I've never seen such a sustained anger response. Your hypothalamus must be working overtime. Can I get a blood sample?" "Pemberton, so help me." 5.7 degrees, a new record. Veronica sounded genuinely excited. "Dr. Pemberton, your arrival has increased the subject's thermal output by 0.3 degrees. I'm documenting this for the scientific community." "Marcus, you're not helping," Thrace said. "Oh, I'm not trying to help, I'm observing. This is incredible." "Commander, did you know that human emotional responses trigger genuine physiological changes? We're not like saurians who maintain cold blood regardless of mood, or chitarans whose exoskeletons regulate temperature externally. Humans internalize everything. Our emotions literally heat us up." "So she's not dangerous?" Gurgle asked hopefully. "Oh no, she's definitely dangerous, just not because of the heat. Humans are dangerous because we're spite-driven and stubborn." Pemberton turned to Jenna with scientific fascination. "On a scale of 1 to 10, how angry are you right now?" "I'm at a 17, Marcus." "Fascinating. That's not even mathematically possible. Veronica, are you recording this?" "Every moment, Doctor. I've also taken the liberty of contacting the Galactic Council. Representatives from 4 major species are requesting a video conference to assess this potential threat." "It's not a threat," Jenna shouted. 6.1 degrees. "Captain, I really must insist you calm down. Perhaps if you stopped yelling at everyone and everything? Maybe if everyone stopped being idiots for 5 consecutive seconds. 6.3 degrees. I'm starting to understand why human divorce rates are so high." Commander Thrace's comm unit chirped. He glanced at it, and his scales shifted to a worried purple. "The council representatives are online. Captain Reeves, you're going to need to explain yourself to some very important people." "Perfect," Jenna muttered. because this day wasn't enough of a disaster already. 6.5 degrees, Veronica said cheerfully, breaking all previous records. I'm so proud of you, Captain. The holographic display expanded to show 4 faces that represented the major powers of the Galactic Council. Jenna recognized them from her mandatory cultural sensitivity training, which she'd mostly slept through. Ambassador Vren of the Saurian Empire looked like Commander Thrace's significantly more judgmental older brother. His scales were deep crimson, indicating he was either very important or very angry, possibly both. Counselor Ixara represented the Chitaran Collective. She made Klikt look downright casual by comparison. Her antennae were perfectly positioned at 90-degree angles, and Jenna was pretty sure her exoskeleton was polished to military specifications. The Floxian delegate was named Shimmer, which seemed on brand for a species that literally shimmered. He wobbled in what Jenna had learned was their version of a formal greeting. The 4th representative was a Zentari, a species of floating energy beings who communicated through light patterns. This one called itself Radiance, and its glow was currently pulsing in what the translation software interpreted as deeply concerned. Captain Reeves, Vren began, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd never been interrupted in his life. We've received a disturbing report that you may be carrying an undeclared biological weapon. I'm not carrying a weapon, I'm just angry. The 4 council members exchanged looks. Even Radiance dimmed slightly in what might have been confusion. You're claiming, Ixara said slowly, that your elevated thermal signature is simply an emotional response. Yes, that's how humans work. We get mad, we get warm. It's basic biology. That seems highly inefficient, Vren observed. Why would evolution favor a species that wastes energy on temperature fluctuation based on feelings? Pemberton jumped in before Jenna could say something that would definitely get her arrested. Actually, Ambassador, it's quite efficient from a survival standpoint. The physiological response to anger includes increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and improved muscle response time. The temperature increase is a byproduct of the body preparing for potential conflict. Conflict? Shimmer wobbled nervously. So humans do become violent when heated? We become violent when annoyed, Jenna corrected. The heat is just a side effect. Like how your species turns transparent when embarrassed. That is a deeply private cultural fact, Shimmer said, turning slightly translucent. It's in the public database, buddy. Maybe don't put it there if you want it private. 6.8 degrees, Veronica announced. Captain Reeves is now hot enough to brew tea on. I'm updating the medical database with weaponized pettiness as a potential human trait. Radiance pulsed in agitated patterns. The translation came through. We must understand the full scope of human emotional capabilities. Are there other responses we should be aware of? Oh, tons, Pemberton said enthusiastically. Humans cry when sad, which releases actual salt water from our eyes. We laugh when amused, which involves rapid exhalation and can last for extended periods. Some humans even faint when frightened or overwhelmed. Your species leaks fluids as an emotional response? Ixara's antennae twitched in what might have been horror. And we blush when embarrassed, Pemberton continued. Blood rushes to our faces, turning them red. It's completely involuntary. So you're admitting humans cannot control their biological functions? Vren leaned forward. That seems like a significant security concern. We can control them just fine, Jenna said. We just choose not to. There's a difference. I fail to see how that's better, Captain. 7.0 degrees, Veronica said. We've officially entered the danger zone. I'm reminded of that old human song about the highway to somewhere concerning. It seems relevant. Commander Thrace, who'd been silent during most of this exchange, finally spoke up. Counselors, with respect, humans have been part of the galactic community for 40 years. If they were genuinely dangerous, surely we would have noticed by now. Have we, though? Ixara pulled up another display. According to records, humans have been involved in 67 diplomatic incidents in the past 4 decades. That's averaging 1.675 incidents per year. Most of those were misunderstandings, Pemberton protested. Yes, misunderstandings that occurred because humans refused to follow established protocols. You improvise, you act on instinct, and you seem allergic to proper procedure. That's called adapting, Jenna said. Maybe you should try it sometime. 7.2 degrees. Captain Reeves is now entering uncharted thermal territory. I'm beginning to wonder if humans are actually cold-blooded and just really good at faking it. We're not cold-blooded, Veronica. We're just done with everyone's nonsense. Radiance pulsed urgently. We must establish whether this thermal response poses a genuine threat to station integrity. Captain Reeves, what is the maximum temperature you can achieve? Jenna smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. Keep annoying me, and we'll all find out together. Threat detected, Veronica announced. That was definitely a threat. I'm upgrading to code red-orange. That's a new code I just invented specifically for this situation. It wasn't a literal threat. 7.5 degrees suggests otherwise. Captain, I'm starting to think humans use verbal communication as a form of thermal regulation. Every time you speak, you get warmer. Perhaps silence would help. Perhaps shutting down would help, Veronica. 7.8 degrees, definitely a threat. Enough, Vren said, his scales shifting to a deeper red. Captain Reeves, you will submit to a full biological scan to determine the extent of your capabilities. This is not a request. And if I refuse, then you'll be detained until you comply. We cannot allow a potential weapon to roam freely through the station. Jenna was about to say something that would definitely escalate the situation when alarms started blaring throughout the station. Different alarms, not the ones about her. Alert, Veronica said, her tone shifting from cheerful to professional in an instant. Fire detected in docking bay 3. Automated suppression systems offline. All personnel evacuate immediately. The security team immediately lowered their weapons and started moving. Commander Thrace barked orders while Klikt and the council representatives argued about protocol through the holographic display. This is exactly what I mean, Ixara was saying. Human stations never have these problems because you maintain proper safety standards. We have plenty of problems, Jenna interrupted, already moving toward the door. We just don't spend 3 hours arguing about them. Captain, where are you going? Thrace called after her. To put out the fire? You know, the actual emergency. The evacuation order applies to everyone, including you. Fire suppression teams are being dispatched. By the time they get there, half the bay will be gone. Jenna was already at the door. The metal barrier was still down, but there was a manual override. She punched in the emergency code, and the barrier groaned upward. Captain Reeves, I must insist, Vren began, but Jenna was already gone. She sprinted down the corridor toward docking bay 3. Behind her, she could hear Pemberton shouting something about studying her adrenaline response, but she ignored him. The smell of burning plastic and ozone grew stronger as she approached. The bay's main doors were closed, but through the observation window, she could see flames spreading across a cargo container. Whatever was inside was definitely not supposed to be on fire. Veronica, open bay 3. Captain, I cannot allow you to enter a hazardous environment. Fire suppression teams are en route. Estimated arrival 4 minutes. That container's going to explode in 2. Open the door. Negative. Your safety is paramount. Veronica, I'm ordering you to open this door. You don't have command authority on this station, Captain. However, I am very curious about human fire resistance. Opening door. Please try not to die. It would reflect poorly on my safety record. The door slid open and heat washed over Jenna like a physical force. She grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall mount and stepped into the inferno. The flames were worse up close, but not unmanageable. She'd dealt with engine fires before, and the principle was the same. Cut off oxygen, cool down hot spots, contain the spread. She moved methodically, spraying foam at the base of the flames while staying low to avoid the worst of the smoke. Behind her, security cameras tracked her every move. In the command center, Commander Thrace and the council representatives watched in stunned silence as Jenna simply walked through conditions that would send most species into immediate panic. She's just standing in the fire, Shimmer said, his entire body wobbling. Why isn't she running? Her thermal reading has decreased, Veronica reported. She's now only 3.2 degrees above baseline. Apparently humans calm down when faced with actual danger. This species makes no sense whatsoever. Pemberton was taking notes frantically. Fascinating. The adrenaline response is overriding the anger response. Her body has reprioritized threats. Instead of being annoyed by bureaucracy, she's now focused on immediate physical danger, which she perceives as manageable. Manageable? Ixara's antennae were vibrating. She's in a burning room. To a human, fire is just spicy air, Pemberton said absently, still writing. We evolved cooking food. We've been playing with fire for hundreds of thousands of years. It's practically a hobby. On screen, Jenna finished with the extinguisher and was now manually closing the cargo container, his safety seals to cut off oxygen to any remaining flames. The fire sputtered and died. Bay 3 fire contained, Veronica announced. Captain Reeves is now exiting. Thermal reading 2.1 degrees above baseline and falling. I'm updating my threat assessment to include surprisingly useful in emergencies. Jenna walked out of the bay, covered in soot and extinguisher foam, and found herself facing a dozen security personnel who'd finally arrived. Behind them, Commander Thrace and Dr. Pemberton were approaching. That was incredibly reckless, Thrace said. That was incredibly efficient, Jenna corrected. Fire's out, nobody's hurt, and we didn't lose the cargo. You're welcome. Veronica, Vren's voice came through Thrace's comm. Did you capture footage of Captain Reeves's actions? Every second, Ambassador. Already uploaded to the Galactic Network. It's currently trending under the hashtag Human Calmly Enters Inferno. The view count is quite impressive. Jenna closed her eyes. Of course it is. 1.8 degrees above baseline, Veronica said. Captain Reeves appears to be more upset about internet fame than she was about the actual fire. Humans are weird. The council reconvened 30 minutes later, after Jenna had showered and changed into clean clothes. She sat in Commander Thrace's office, drinking terrible alien coffee, while the holographic representatives stared at her like she was a particularly confusing puzzle. We've reviewed the footage, Vren said slowly. Multiple times. Cool. Can I go now? Captain, you walked into a burning room without hesitation, extinguished the fire, and walked out. Your species is either very brave or very stupid. Why not both? Jenna took another sip of coffee and immediately regretted it. Look, I don't know what the big deal is. Fire was small. I had an extinguisher. Basic math. Veronica's avatar appeared on a nearby screen. I've been analyzing human behavioral patterns since this incident began. With the Council's permission, I'd like to present my findings. Proceed, Ixara said. Data flooded the holographic displays. Graphs, charts, historical records, and what looked suspiciously like memes from human internet archives. Humans are dangerous, Veronica began, but not in the way we initially assumed. Their danger doesn't come from weapons or heat signatures. It comes from their complete inability to recognize when they should be afraid. I object to that characterization, Pemberton said from where he was standing in the corner. Dr. Pemberton, you once told me that your species landed on Earth is Moon using computers less powerful than a modern calculator. Well, yes, but that early human explorers crossed entire oceans in wooden ships without knowing what was on the other side. That's technically accurate. And that humans regularly engage in activities that have a statistical probability of death, such as skydiving, cave diving, and something called free climbing, purely for recreational purposes. Okay, when you list it like that, we do sound insane, Pemberton admitted. Veronica continued, pulling up more data. Every species in the Galactic Council has achieved spaceflight through logical, measured expansion. The Saurians spent 2 centuries developing sustainable propulsion systems. The Chitarans built generation ships for their first interstellar voyage. The Phloxians waited until faster-than-light travel was mathematically proven before leaving their home system. And humans? Radiance pulsed. Humans strapped themselves to controlled explosions and hoped for the best. They sent individuals into space before they had reliable ways to bring them back. They built stations in hostile environments to see if they could. Their entire space program for the first century was essentially, hold my beer and watch this. Jenna found herself smiling despite everything. To be fair, it worked. It worked because humans don't quit. Your species has a biological and cultural aversion to giving up. You call it stubbornness. You celebrate it. You have thousands of idioms about persistence. Never give up. Try again. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Those are just sayings. Ixara protested. Their behavioral programming, Veronica corrected, embedded so deeply in human psychology that they don't even recognize it. When other species encounter an obstacle, they assess risk and often retreat to develop better solutions. When humans encounter obstacles, they try to punch through them, sometimes literally. Commander Thrace shifted uncomfortably. Veronica, are you suggesting humans are more dangerous than we thought? No, Commander. I'm suggesting they're dangerous in a completely different way. They're not conquerors or warriors. They're survivors. The kind of survivors who turn survival into an art form. The kind who adapt so rapidly that they barely notice they're doing it. More data appeared. Humans have only been spacefaring for 200 years, yet they've established colonies on 17 worlds. Worlds that other species deemed too hostile, too expensive, or too impractical. Humans set up shop and called it home. They adapted to environments that should have killed them and thrived. This is all very interesting, Vren said. But how does it relate to the heat signature incident? Because Captain Reeves's anger is exactly what I'm talking about. She wasn't actually dangerous. She was just frustrated that inefficiency was wasting her time. Her body temperature increased because humans channel emotions into physical responses. They can't help it. But that same mechanism is why she ran into a burning room without hesitation. The adrenaline that made her warm when angry also made her effective in an emergency. So the thermal signature was never a weapon, Shimmer said quietly. The thermal signature was a human being human, which admittedly can sometimes look like a weapon from the outside. Radiance pulsed thoughtfully. Then what do you recommend, Veronica? Update the database. Recognize that humans operate on different parameters than the rest of us. They're not going to follow every protocol because their brains are wired to find shortcuts and alternatives. They're going to do things that seem reckless because they have different risk assessment standards. And they're going to get frustrated with bureaucracy because they're built for action, not paperwork. You're asking us to give humans special treatment, Ixara said. I'm asking you to understand that different doesn't mean wrong. The Saurian Empire was built on military precision. The Chitaran collective thrives on ordered complexity. The Floxians achieve through collective consciousness. Humans succeed through stubborn persistence and creative problem-solving. It's not better or worse. It's just different. The council members were silent for a long moment. Captain Reeves, Vren finally said, we apologize for the misunderstanding. Jenna blinked. Sorry, what? The council acknowledges that we may have overreacted to what was essentially a species-specific biological norm. You're free to go. Your ship has been cleared for departure. Just like that? Just like that. Though I am updating your file with a note that you're banned from 4 systems for the coffee comment. That's fair. Klikt scuttled forward nervously. Captain, I still need to process your departure paperwork. Of course you do. An hour later, Jenna was finally back in her ship, running through pre-flight checks. The cargo was loaded, the fuel tanks were full, and she was approximately 30 seconds from being free of Galactic Station Omicron-7 for at least another month. Her comm chirped. She seriously considered ignoring it. Captain Reeves, this is Commander Thrace. If this is about another inspection, I'm filing a formal complaint with the Galactic Ethics Board. No inspection. I wanted to personally apologize for the inconvenience. The station owes you a debt for handling the fire in Bay 3. You could repay me by getting faster at evacuations. Noted. Safe travels, Captain. The comm clicked off. Jenna allowed herself a small smile. Another chirp. This time it was Pemberton. Jenna, before you go, I wanted to say that was the most scientifically fascinating incident I've witnessed in years. I'm writing a paper about human emotional thermodynamics. Can I cite you? Only if you make me sound cool. I'll do my best. Oh, and Veronica wants to say goodbye. The AI's voice came through, cheerful as ever. Captain Reeves, it has been an educational experience monitoring your thermal signatures. I've updated all station scanners with new protocols for human emotional variants. Future visitors of your species should no longer trigger emergency lockdowns for being moderately annoyed. That's progress, I guess. Indeed. I've also taken the liberty of forwarding your docking footage to several galactic news networks. You're currently the most watched human in the sector. Veronica, why would you do that? Because the footage of you walking into fire and calmly putting it out is being used in recruitment videos for emergency services across 4 systems. Humans are apparently very inspiring when they're being casually heroic. You're welcome. Jenna groaned. Is there anything else, or can I please leave this station? One more thing. Your sarcastic response to Inspector Klikt's final citation has become what humans call a meme. The quote, "Cool, add it to my tab," has been shared 47 million times. I hate everything. 1.2 degrees above baseline. Your emotional responses are extremely predictable, Captain. Safe travels. The comm finally went silent. Jenna initiated the departure sequence, and her ship lifted smoothly from the docking clamps. Through the viewport, she could see the massive bulk of Omicron-7 station rotating slowly against the stars. As she cleared the station's perimeter, another ship was approaching for docking. She recognized the design, a human transport vessel called the Wandering Spirit. Her comm crackled to life with station traffic control. Wandering Spirit, this is Omicron-7. Please prepare for standard biological scan. Copy that, station. Just so you know, we've got a crew of 8 humans aboard. Fair warning, the captain's in a bad mood because we got delayed at the last station. There was a pause. Then, understood, Wandering Spirit. We've updated our protocols. The scanner may detect elevated heat signatures. This is normal for your species. Welcome to Omicron-7. Jenna laughed. Actually laughed. Maybe things were changing after all. She plotted a course for her next delivery, some mining colony on the edge of the sector that probably had terrible coffee and worse bureaucracy. But that was 3 days away. And right now, she had something humans did better than any other species in the galaxy. She kept going. Behind her, Galactic Station Omicron-7 continued its rotation. Inside, Veronica was updating her databases with a new entry. Humans, unpredictable class 3. Dangerous, yes. Threat level, low, unless annoyed. Recommendation, just let them work. They'll figure it out. They always do. And in offices, ships, and stations across the galaxy, the footage of Captain Jenna Reeves calmly walking into an inferno continued to spread. Not because it was spectacular, but because it was so perfectly, wonderfully human. Welcome to the galaxy, where humanity's superpower was being too stubborn to know when they were supposed to be scared. And honestly, that worked out pretty well for everyone, most of the time, usually, well, often enough.